Well, William, Harry, Kate and Meghan came together to view tributes to the Queen on Saturday at Windsor in a show of apparent unity. But after the way the Sussexes have bad-mouthed the monarchy for the last couple of years, should they be forgiven and welcomed back? Or will Harry's forthcoming tell-all book actually make things a lot worse? Joining me to discuss this, former Royal Protection Officer Ken Wharfe, family law barrister Paula Rhone-Adrien, and my son's royal photographer Arthur Roberts is still with me. Ken, this is a hot one, isn't it? Because my understanding of what actually happened was that Prince William, now the new Prince of Wales, could see that the entire week was going to get taken up with stories of the rift and who was going to sit where at the various ceremonies and so on. And he thought he'd get ahead of it, is my understanding. And he texted Harry and said, we're going to go on a walkabout. Why don't you come as well? And let's just try and diffuse things. And Harry agreed, and then they spent 45 minutes getting ready because they weren't expecting it, and then they all went out together. There was no doubt it was a powerful image of unity, but I don't think anyone should be too fooled that this actually is the end of the problem. And one of the biggest issues is this tell-all book that Harry has written, which is due to be published by Penguin Random House. We don't know when, potentially even in the next couple of months. And if it does, and it's really critical of the man who's now king, his father, and it's critical of the woman who's now Queen Consort, and it's critical of the heir to the throne, the Prince of Wales, Prince William, this is going to cause incredible new damage, probably worse than anything they've done already. What do you think of this?
Well, I mean, I agree with what you say. I mean, if what you say were to appear in this book, and if this book were to be published within the next or the foreseeable future, and if that's what's written, that it is going to cause, extraordinary damage. My personal belief is, Piers, I think that this will be put on hold for the immediate future.
Well, I've written a column tonight for the New York Post saying I think he should cancel it. Well, I think he should rip up the contract and cancel it because he's given a statement today, Harry, a very heartwarming statement about his grandmother, as you would expect. They were close. But you can't get away from the hurt that she must have experienced in the last 2 years over all the shenanigans coming out of California. And towards the end of the statement, he says he now wants to honour his father, King Charles III. How do you honour the new king with a book which he says is going to be searingly honest and accurate, which of course is what we were told the Oprah interview was, but it turned out not to be.
I think you could be right. I mean, calling for this to be pulp would be a good idea, but I think when you think what the king has said now that he wants Harry, I think, really to be part of this new plan of his, to take the monarchy forward. I mean, he said this some years ago, before we had this split.
Does Harry want to be part of it? Or does Meghan, in particular, actually want to carry on having their royal cake and eat it in California and to not have to abide by the rules of doing any duty or service or anything like that, but to do exactly what they want and make themselves very rich?
But one thing's for certain. I mean, look at the pictures of Harry in the last 24 hours. He doesn't look happy in this role. I mean, certainly, I think he was pleased to be there, to show respect for his grandmother and indeed with his wife, Meghan. But the whole point is that somehow there has to be a deal struck. Either we're going to say goodbye forever, and I know that you've said that the title should be taken away as well, but
I think so.
But at some point,
if they're going to, well, Paul, let's bring you in here because you're a supporter of them. I just think the two things aren't compatible. You can't keep royal titles and exploit them in the way that they're doing for personal enrichment from the other side of the world. It just doesn't fly, I don't think, for most people in this country. Interestingly, as I'm talking to you, Oprah Winfrey has said that Queen Elizabeth II's death could be an opportunity for peacemaking. Speaking at the Toronto Film Festival, she said, well, this is what I think. I think in all families, my father passed recently this summer. When all families come together for a common ceremony, the ritual of burying your dead is an opportunity for peacemaking, and hopefully there will be that. She told that to Extra. Yeah. So obviously there's that opportunity, and obviously it was encouraging to see the four of them coming out. Absolutely. And obviously everybody would like them to all get on and to be promoting the new king and the new monarchy. The problem is, I don't think that this picture is the end of the problem.
And I agree with you, actually, on this point, Piers. It's not the complete picture. But what we do have is we have a positive progression. We have a coming together. Because what, unfortunately, grieving can do is it can also tear you apart. But we haven't seen that.
Well,
We've
Harry
seen-
apparently, look, you don't know quite what to believe in the reports, but Harry reportedly went up to Balmoral with the rest of the family and left in the morning and never spoke to William. This is as the Queen was dying. I find that an extraordinary fact.
If
that is true, it shows you the scale of the rift.
But in terms of moving forward, I'd actually like to think that King Charles had something to do with this as well.
Apparently he didn't.
And
it's been made very clear it was all William's idea.
His speech, I think, really reached out to many of those watching. And I would be surprised if, therefore, on the sidelines, he didn't play a role. He is their father, after all.
Right, Arthur,
and undoubtedly wants them together.
You know all these people very well. You know Charles extremely well, William extremely well. This has been a hell of a mess. And I feel quite angry that this was all what the Queen had to deal with, actually, in the last 2 years. The last thing she would have wanted, particularly when Philip got ill and then died. I mean, the last thing she wanted was her grandchildren at war and everything else. What do you make of it? What did you make of the rapprochement for this picture of them coming out together? And what do you think the answer is going forward?
Well, when the Prince said he loved Harry and Meghan, that shook me as well in his speech. And then when when Meghan got out the car, I was amazed. But obviously William has got to sort of do something about it. And he spoke to his brother and said, look, let's make a combined effort here. But they did it because if Meghan had turned up for the funeral on Monday, all the papers have been talking about Meghan. And Prince of Wales, the King doesn't want that. He wants, it's all about the Queen and nothing else. There were no distractions. Whether they'll get back together, I don't know. I mean, there's a big, strong rift between the
Huge
brothers.
rift.
I mean,
Ken, I mean, you were Diana's bodyguard. She would have hated what's happened between her two sons, wouldn't she?
Well, yeah, she would have done. But I've said before, Piers, you know, what this rift needed was someone to broker a deal, or someone to sort this out. And Diana had gone through, you said, her short life, with a great deal of anxiety, a great deal of unhappiness, and would have seen the problems here, and would have seen the long-term problems here. Because the problem is really, nobody really wants, quite frankly, I know your view and the view of many thousands of others, but they need someone to combine this, or to mend it, to find a solution, to put it right. And I think Diana would have been the person to deal with that.
Well, I don't
think it's that complicated. It is complicated.
Well, it's complicated in the sense that, I mean, Paula, when they left the Sussexes, when they left the royal family in Britain in January 2020, it seems forever ago now, but when they left, they said that whatever happened, they were going to uphold the values of Her Majesty, even though if they weren't going to be doing duty on her behalf. I don't think even their wildest supporter could say that their behaviour in the last 2 years has upheld the values of Her Majesty the Queen.
I don't think that's fair, Piers.
Really?
Because what we know
She represented duty, service,
what we know about Meghan
honesty,
and Harry is that they've
humility.
continued to be very dutiful and to pay
who, apart from
service
themselves?
to the countless charities who they continue to
But
work
they've been
with.
enriching themselves to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars.
They've been working.
Trading
That's
off
very
their royal
different to
titles.
enriching.
Well, no,
they
it's not.
have to
It's
earn
not,
a living,
actually.
because
The money
if they
goes
didn't,
into their back pocket.
They'd be
And of course-
criticised
Yes,
for
but the
living
work-
off their royal
Yeah, but
titles.
look, call me cynical.
And I do.
Yeah, but the work that they do for their charities is designed to reinforce their royal status, which they then fleece to the highest bidders. They've been paid a fortune by Netflix. There's this documentary coming out about their love story, which, if that contains more damaging allegations about the royal family, will be another chip to this new king and the monarchy.
Now, you say damaging allegations about the royal family. What we are actually talking about is a son talking about his hurt.
No, you're talking
We're
also
talking about a daughter-in-law talking about her pain.
Yeah,
and
her
it's
pain-
something that
Yeah,
isn't
I'm not
unusual
sure-
in any family.
I'm not sure how painful it is to take your prince from his country back to California and make yourself super rich, trading off your newly found royal status. I'm not sure how painful that is, particularly to most millions of people in Britain who are currently on the breadline in this cost of living crisis. Her pain, I think, needs to be put into some perspective.
Well,
the pain she's
there
caused,
is a family
the pain
who
she's
are in
caused the
pain
royal
at the
family,
moment.
the pain she's caused the royal family, and Harry's behaviour's caused the royal family, to me, outweighs their own little local difficulties.
That's a suggestion that you can have one without the other.
Well, when you call the
And
royal
Piers,
family
you can't.
when you call the royal family a bunch of callous racists, but you don't actually produce any evidence to prove it, I have a problem with that. And when you carry on spewing nonsense, like Meghan Markle recently just said in this interview last week that she had, thank God her children aren't at school in England because they'd have 50 paparazzi there every day. We know that's not going to happen. There are rules to stop that happening.
Well, it wouldn't happen with the English press, but we know that it would happen with the international
Final word.
press.
Do you think they're going to all get reconciled anytime soon?
Absolutely.
Should Harry get rid of his book?
No.
Really? Wow. Ken?
Piers, I do think that a lot has been said about the way that King Charles is going to take this monarchy forward. I think what he will do, he will find a way of reconciling Harry with the rest of the royal family. Quite what that will be, I don't know. But
should he pulp the book?
I don't think he should pulp the book at this stage. I think what he should do is actually not do anything with it, but reflect on it and realise, seriously, what damage that might do.
OK. Arthur, last word to you.
Pulp the book, yeah. And I think, the quicker Harry gets back here and starts supporting his father and his brother, the better, whether she comes with him or not.
I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
But that's
Arthur,
what I think.
Thank you for coming in. I know what this must have meant to you this last few days, so I really appreciate you coming in.
OK.
And great that you're carrying on working with our new king, because he'll need you.
Yeah,
I'd like to see a familiar
I'm only
face.
82, Ken. I've got to retire yet.
Ken, Paula, thank you both very much
Good
indeed.
evening.